Welcome to steel making course. Let me show you, these are the main outlines of unit 1. First you are going to know about what is the entire steel plant layout structure, what are the steel production statistics in this current year in India, what are the raw materials, what are the various steel making process, and all those things you are supposed to know. What are the ancillary plants in and around the steel making process, and there are other things called as a continuous castings products in the form of billets and blooms. All these things you are going to know in this unit 1. Let me start about what is the history of steel making process. As we know, the iron and steel are assumed as building blocks of entire human civilization. If you see, in 1450 BC, the iron wheels were discovered in the entire revolutions of warfare and cultivation. In 1500 AD, there was invention of blast furnace for producing the liquid state pig iron from its iron ore. In 1855 AD, Sir Henry Bessemer is devised a steel making process from the iron, taking pig iron as a raw material. That particular process subsequently named as a Bessemer steel making process. And coming to the present 20th century, there are many steel making processes are evolved, such as LD converter steel making process, electric arc furnace process, vacuum arc remelting process for producing the quality steels. It means for further refining, reducing the impurities such as carbon, manganese and silicon. Next slide, if you see what is the origin of steel making process, starting from charcoal process. Here you are using combination of iron oxide ore or hematite ore burned with charcoal in a simple wood simple firing furnace, and it is being used another raw materials such as sponge iron and charcoal bits, some amount of tar as a slag. Finally produced the carbon concentration levels to 0.02 to 0.08 percentage of carbon. This steel is named as a tough and malleable steel. And going to the next process called the bars of wrought iron is taken and combination of charcoal heated for several days. Why it is? Because to diffuse the carbon further, so that the hardness and strength of the material, especially hardness of the steel, will increase. This process was also as history in the steel making process. It is repeated because this homogeneity process also reported to achieve the homogeneity in entire microstructure and in terms of mechanical properties. Finally, the forged steel is produced. This particular steel is called as a forged steel by heating and forging continuously for 1 hour. There was another process called as a crucible process, which was developed by Unston in UK around 1740. This particular process raw materials were chemical fuel as well as cold air was used to achieve around 1450 temperature. And finally you are getting a steel called as a blisters in the form of, the blisters are nothing but kind of pores in the surface to increase the surface roughness. These particular steels are produced by crucible process. The crucible is kind of a bowl or a bucket, and this particular process is assumed as an expensive process. Going to now, let me start one more step called as a what are the designations in the entire steel, how to know which kind of steel it is. The starting from the first designation is called a ASTM designation. The standard from the full form of ASTM is American Society for Testing of Materials. This standard designation is used even today by entire steel plant industries. There are nomenclature called as A, B, C till G. Each one stands for, such as A stands for it is the material kind of iron or steel material. If it is B designated, so just like this, that means that is related to the non-ferrous material. If it is G, it is related to the corrosion resistance material. And let me take specific example, one of ASTM A1. It means it is a kind of potato steel T-shape rail rods, and ASTM A553 steel means pressure vessel plates are designated with A543. M stands for molybdenum alloying elements. There are n variety of ASTM designations are available, starting from the types of steels: carbon steel, high strength low alloy steel, corrosion resistant steel, quenching and tempering steels, quenching and tempering with low alloying element steels. There are various designations are shown here. A36 carbon steel is having yield strength around 32 and ultimate tensile strength varies from 58 to 80 percentage. Going to till quenched and tempered low alloy steels, the designation was A852. It means the yield strength is 70 kilo around 70 megapascal and ultimate tensile strength is 19 to 110. And coming to the high strength low alloy steels, some commonly used steel alloy is A517 grade F. The composition as well as its name suggests that low alloy steel, you see nickel is 0.85, manganese, molybdenum is 0.5 and chromium 0.5. This suggests that there are very low alloying elements, but you are getting the high strength such as yield strength 760 megapascal. In the previous slide you have seen 70 to 80. KSA and megapascal are around same. Okay. Next slide, if you talk about the grades of stainless steels, and stainless steels there are number designation. ASI, it is kind of ASI steel. ASI stands for American Iron and Steel Institute. 304L, L stands for low carbon. It means around 0.03 percentage of carbon and other alloying elements. Coming to the 316L, low carbon and few alloying elements such as molybdenum. So that is stands for 316L. And Inconel 600, Inconel Y800 with combination of other alloying elements. These are the variety of stainless steel grades. And this is British steel standard such as EN8. It is nothing but low carbon steels. The carbon content is low carbon. If it is EN24, it is medium carbon steel. If it is EN36, it is high carbon steel. And other compositions, other alloying element compositions. These are the various grades. Coming to the how does these alloying elements, if phosphorus is excess, what will happen in the steels in terms of mechanical properties? If the sulfur is low or high, what will happen? Let me give you few glimpse about these things. If phosphorus is excess, it causes to the brittleness. So that's why it should be optimum level. And if it is sulfur is excess, it is the hot workability in the process of hot working process. One type of mechanical working process, you will be getting the, you cannot deform further in hot working conditions. At higher temperature you cannot deform, you cannot get as the shape which you require. Chromium, if chromium is added, it should be optimum. So the optimum chromium induces ordinability increment, molybdenum, because these are the carbide elements. If you go for the oxide elements, aluminum, titanium, so it gives the microstructural properties such as grain refinement. It means you will be getting the low grain structure. In another words, it improves the strength. Arsenic, bismuth gives, if the excess bismuth is added in terms of steels, it leaves poor ductility. Going to the cobalt, it is restricted to some application because of the HCP crystal structure. It is one of the carbide, it increases the strengths, but behind the limit it cannot import any of the properties. Copper, and copper increases the arc shortness. You mean, so at higher temperature, if copper addition is more, it relieves the cracks. nitrogen so improves the strain aging properties. You can strain further and further. So if you combination of heating and cool cycles, and it increases the machinability. You can easily machinable if chipping at the edges, all those things are possible. And going to the oxygen and nitrogen, hydrogen leaves. If excess hydrogen is present in the steels, it embeds the embrittlement of the steels. Thank you.